Hi and welcome. Thanks for joining us today for our first webinar from Rosco Architectural, which will be focused on the RoscoLED tape and profiles. I'm Sean O'Callaghan, the European Sales Manager for Rosco Architectural. And for anyone who's less familiar with the Rosco Architectural name, we're a division within Rosco that are focused on dramatic lighting solutions for permanent installations. We have a number of sales and project management teams across the globe that are focused on this market, and it's a growing part of our business. I'm joined today by Jack Berwick, our LED products manager. Jack's got over 30 years professional lighting experience, and with the last 10 years focused solely on LED. His role within Rosco is to drive forward fixture development, hence why he's doing the presentations today. One last point before we start is that we'll have a Q&A session at the end. And as such, I'd ask you to enter any queries or questions that come up or arise to you throughout the presentations and put them in the chatter box you should see on your screen. And we'll do our best to answer as many as we can at the end of the session. With that said, we're just going to wait another moment or two for the last couple of people coming in, and then Jack will start. Thank you very much. Okay, just another couple of moments here. And I think we'll start at 5 past, so it's about 1 more minute, and we'll kick off. And Jack, over to you.
Okay, thank you, Sean. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules to attend the RoscoLED tape webinar. I'm going to start my part of the session with a brief overview of the RoscoLED tape product line. I'm going to follow with some real-life applications where RoscoLED tape products have been put into use. And then I want to finish with focusing on some key product features and benefits that really separate RoscoLED products from competitor items in the market. And as Sean mentioned, we'll allow time at the end of the session for questions and answers. So without further ado, let's get into it. I do want to give you a little bit of background as to how Rosco got into the LED tape product line. We actually started offering LED tape about 2.5 years ago. And at that time, our focus was primarily on TV and film businesses. We did the number of visits with Mavens, we did the trade show circuit, and consistently as we were previewing and presenting the product, we got this strong feedback from everyone that said, this is really great stuff. Why don't you offer it into the architectural markets? And thus began our journey. So let's talk about what we have here today. As far as the LED tape, we've got a range of static white offerings. We've got 4 different color temperature available options, starting with a very warm 1800 Kelvin, progressing up to a cool white 5600 Kelvin. We've got 2 versions of a tunable very white. The first one has a very broad color space going from 1800K to 6000K. The second one goes from 3000K to 6000K. So a couple of different options depending on what your lighting needs might be. And then we've got 3 ways that you can create colors or mixed colors. We've got an RGB plus cool white, an RGB plus warm white, and an RGB amber vari-color tape. All of the tape is standard in IP43 or indoor rating, but we can also provide any of these flavors in IP65 outdoor rating upon request. We've got a full complement of power and dimming controls, and I'll get into this in a little bit more detail in future slides, but we've got a range of capacities to meet the needs of small, medium, and large projects. The dimming controls, we offer DMX 0 to 10 volt and Dolly, which I think covers the majority of the industry needs. And then we've got a couple of different ways that the LED tape can be mounted. The easiest way is just to use the adhesive backing that's on the reverse side of the tape. And an alternate way for more permanent installations would be to use our aluminum profiles. And again, I'll give you more details on that in future slides. So I really want to give you guys an understanding as to what defines RoscoLED tape. What's our strategy? How do we approach this market? The first thing we want to do is to give lighting designers options. We don't want to give them just a couple of different flavors. We want to give them a broad range of products. This allows them to use their imaginations and to really create brilliant spaces. We've put a strong focus on quality. We want to make sure that whatever we sell is reliable, it's consistent, and we can provide a reproducible performance out in the market. And thirdly, we want to provide a great value. We think we've got a best-in-class feature set for our products. They're competitively priced, and most important, they're backed by Rosco sales and support teams. So it's really all about creating exceptional visual expressions with RoscoLED tape. And here are just a few examples as to how RoscoLED tape can be used. The first would be to actually feature or enhance focal points in a lighting scheme. Another way would be to create a static or dynamic emphasis on key elements or features in a venue or a set. You can also use it to create contrasting lighting, which actually complements the other lighting elements in the scene. And finally, you can develop some very comprehensive scene changes or color changes with a very minimal infrastructure and investment. And really what the designer is looking for is you walk into a room, you see this lighting scheme and you go, wow, that's really cool. It's really about evoking that emotional response. And we think with RoscoLED tape, we can get you there. So let's look at some real life applications. The first is a hotel ballroom. This is located up in Canada. And I'll show you the before shot and give you a couple of details as to what's not quite right with this picture. The first thing I'll call your attention to is the kind of washed out and non-uniform illumination on this beautiful arch ceiling. You can see there's a lot of color variation. There's saturation, desaturation points. It's just very unappealing to the eye. The other thing I'll point out is there are a number of discrete light fixtures that are generating the light pattern and they're visible to the viewer. So it kind of breaks up that visual aspect. And the third point here is that these light fixtures do require ongoing maintenance, which just adds to the negative appeal of this installation. So how does it look with RoscoLED tape? Here we are with the picture on the right. I'll call your attention to a number of key points here. The first is that you can see the uniformity and the saturation of the color in the arch ceiling is much enhanced. So very uniform and deeply saturated. Another thing I'll point out is we added a string of accent LED lights around the bottom of the dental molding. And this does two things. The first thing is it helps to frame the arch ceiling. So when you're looking upwards, it really gives you a nice perspective. But as important, it provides a little bit of contrast to the dental molding around the perimeter. And it really gives you a little bit of time to appreciate the detail on that dental molding. With that same setup, you can see that it's very easy to create different color schemes just by a couple of control changes. Perhaps you have a themed event. Maybe it's a Valentine's Day party and you want to have a red theme. It's just so easy to create different looks in a common space with this product. This is a bird's eye view of the installation. This is looking down from above into the cove, and you can see it's very simply just a series of parallel strings of the LED tape set in the cove that allows the illumination to take effect. So here's the real meat and potatoes behind the installation. We actually did a little bit of playing around to get the exact angles and whatnot, but basically we took a rigid backer board. It's only about 6 inches wide. There's 4 parallel rows of RoscoLED vari-color tape mounted into our aluminum profile. And what's really nice about this is we were able to use a combination of the profiles and beam angles to achieve that very uniform illumination from the cove across the entire span of that archway. So working from the right edge going down to the left, the tape on the right side was at native beam angle, which is roughly 140 degrees. We then followed with one that has a beam shaping lens, which reduces the angle to about 60 degrees. And then the 2 furthest to the left include a 30-degree beam shaping lens. So this way, with a little bit of tilt to the backer board, we were able to provide full and uniform coverage across that entire archway. The entire project used about 170 meters of tape and profile, and it was complemented by some of our larger power supplies and our DMX decoders. Another application is a TV set. I'll call your attention to some features on the back walls of this set. The first is there's a series of black and white vertical stripes. The second element I'll call your attention to is the horizontal gradation in color, working from the bottom with a medium blue to kind of a light colored blue in the middle, and then a darker blue at the top. So let's take a closer look as to how this was accomplished. It's really very, very simple. The LED tape was strung on these backer boards with a spacing of about 4 to 6 inches. And to get the vertical element features, it's really just stacks of vertical strips of the tape in segments, and it allows you to control those segments independently to achieve that color scheme. Likewise, we had a series of the LED tapes strung in a horizontal array, which allowed the top to bottom gradated color scheme. One important point to mention is that the spacing of the tape is very much dependent on how much distance you have from that tape and backer board to your front diffusion surface. So it's very easy to make adjustments to get that nice uniform lighting and to achieve the exact effect you're looking for. Once those panels have been all assembled, it's easy to mount them onto the superstructure and then put the diffusion material in the front. And then, of course, the controls are positioned adjacent to those panels throughout the infrastructure. This slide shows 3 images of a panel that Rosco actually created for one of our trade shows not too long ago. This is using a series of horizontal RoscoLED vari-color strings. And again, it just shows you how easy it is to create this color gradation. And by a few simple flicks of the controls, you can change from this deep red to pale orange scene to a green to blue gradation, or you can just go to a nice deep red image across the entire span here. So it's very easy to do. Another way that the RoscoLED tape can be used is for dramatic lighting. And as I mentioned, we have the ability to offer IP65 rated tape for outdoor use. So this shows some signage up in the Toronto area where the RoscoLED tape was used. This is RGBW vari-color tape. And here it is in full color mode. So it's very easy to really create some different scenes using this product. So you might ask, how is this done? This gives you an inside look at the construction of the letters. The letters themselves are actually about 3 meters or 10 feet in diameter. And as you can see, there's a rigid backer board that's mounted inside the structure of the letters. And then there's parallel strings of LED tape that are affixed to those backer boards. The power and dimming controls are placed on the backside of those boards. Then the entire structure is basically covered with translucent material that's sealed around the framework. In this case, we used about 280 meters of RoscoLED tape, again with a number of our larger power supplies and the DMX decoders. Perhaps a little bit more utilitarian application might be some task lighting. This is a shot of a kitchen scene, and tucked up behind the cabinetry overhead is a very thin strip of the RoscoLED static white tape in a corner profile. You can see it provides a nice little wash of task lighting down onto the work surface, in this case, a cooktop. It can be outfitted with whatever color static white tape the end user desires, and you can also include a 0 to 10 volt dimming control if that's desired. Somewhat similar application, another task lighting scene. In this case, we've got an island in a kitchen, and we've got a piece of the RoscoLED profile suspended over the work surface. Again, a single strip of RoscoLED static white tape inside the channel, and we've got a frosted lens cover, so it gives you a nice diffuse, even illumination down on the work surface. I'd now like to get into some key features and benefits of the product and really give you an understanding as to what separates the RoscoLED product from so many other items that are out on the market. Every reel of tape that RoscoLED offers is pre-configured with a soldered multi-pin connector, as you can see in the picture here on the lower left. This allows you the opportunity to actually just pull it out of the package, plug it into our control box, and in a matter of minutes, you can be up and running in your set. It eliminates the need to do any cutting in the field, soldering, wiring of terminals. It can be very, very easy and straightforward. With that said, if you prefer to do some customization in the field, we do make it quite easy. You can see the cut points every few centimeters on our tape. It's clearly identified, as well as where those solder connections need to be made with respect to lead wire polarity, and in the case of RGBW tape, each one of those terminals is appropriately noted. I mentioned earlier that the RoscoLED tape has an adhesive backing. Our product is backed with a VHB adhesive, and for those of you that may not be intimately familiar with this, this tape adhesive is used commonly in automotive trim applications. So you can imagine what's the average life of an automobile today? 10 years, and it really can be exposed to a broad variety of ambient temperatures and some pretty harsh environments. So this backing on our tape is really meant to last. Once you set it in place, it's not going to go anywhere. One other key point, as you can see with the logos on the tape, all of our product is CE certified as well as UL certified. A very important point that many people may not appreciate when they first look at our product is it's got a very heavy copper heatsink. The majority of competitor products have only a 1 ounce heatsink. This is important for a couple of reasons. The heavier heatsink allows the RoscoLED LEDs to run at a cooler temperature, which helps prolong their life. In addition, if you do need to do any field soldering, the heavier heatsink gives you much more latitude in making those solder connections. With the competitor products, that 1 ounce copper, it's much easier to kink and damage the tape and the joints, and it's easy to burn through that tape when you're soldering if you're not intimately careful. I mentioned before that we can offer IP65 variants on any of our tape. This is available upon request. As you can see in the picture on the right, this is actually the IP65 product. So it doesn't incorporate a very heavy, bulky silicone sleeve like many competitor products do. We actually take a continuous piece of silicone and we heat shrink it around the entire length of the LED strip. This really gives a very robust seal, but more importantly, this silicone layer will not crack or discolor after prolonged exposure to UV light. So it's very robust, and we're very comfortable that this will perform extremely well in a broad range of outdoor environments. All of our LED chips use the latest SMD 2835 technology. What this means is they're highly efficient, and we can generate more lumens per meter than many of our competitors. On the RGB plus W chip strip, we actually don't have a quad chip where all 4 colors are squeezed into one. We actually alternate between a RGB tri-chip and a white chip. And this just gives the end user a little bit more latitude in mixing colors and trying to achieve desaturated looks. We find it's a much more effective way to produce colored effects. I mentioned earlier that our white LEDs go all the way down to 1800 Kelvin. So I think we've got the broadest white color space on the market. And we've really placed a lot of emphasis on color quality, which I'll get into in a little bit more on the next slide. Another key point on the RGBA product is that every LED is discrete. So again, we don't lump it all into a multi-color chip. We've got a discrete red, green, blue, and amber. What this means is you can achieve some very rich saturated colors, and our product puts out almost twice the amount of lumens as most competitor RGBA products. So very important. I mentioned a second ago about color quality. It's first and foremost in our minds when we're designing products. All of the white LEDs, whether it's a static white, a very white, or the white in the RGB plus W, have extremely high color quality. I think most of you know that colored objects will reflect the portion of the light spectrum that represents their true color, and they absorb other colors. So as an example, if you had a red dress and exposed it to a blue light, it would pretty much look black. It wouldn't look red at all. So in a similar manner, if you've got a light source that doesn't have a full, complete spectrum, it's going to look off. It's not going to look like its true color. As you can see from these 2 diagrams at the bottom of the slide, we've got a very, very full, complete spectrum here with a nice broad red tail. And the histogram on the right, essentially all of these color points with a high 90s rating, that tells you that there's very little weakness in the spectrum. It's very complete. And this means that the color rendering of colored objects is going to be extremely accurate. In particular, skin tones. If people are walking under this light or next to the light, their skin will look accurate. It won't look weird like sometimes happens with competitor products. The eye has an acuity to pick up colors at specific wavelengths. And we've taken this knowledge and incorporated that into our RGB and RGB amber RoscoLED Vari-Color tapes. We've centered these peak wavelengths where the eye is most acute in picking up these colors. So again, it's going to give you very richly saturated colors when you are looking for that in your lighting scheme. We'll get into the power and dimming controls now on this slide. I mentioned earlier that we have a control box. This is really a nice, very simple plug-and-play solution. It incorporates a power supply and a DMX decoder inside the box. And as you can see from these 2 images, all of the connections are on the outside of the box. So you can plug in your power and your DMX in and out on one end. You've got your outputs for your tape on the other end using that multi-pin connector that's on our reels. There's no cutting, there's no soldering. You don't have to do any calculations to figure out how many reels of tape I can marry up to this power supply. We do all the heavy lifting for you. You open up a box with this product, and in a matter of minutes, you can be up and running with your scene. For those that want to do more customization, or have a larger project where maybe the control boxes and kits aren't the ideal solution, we do offer a full range of discrete power supplies and dimming controls. We've got power supplies with different capacities rated for both indoor IP20 as well as outdoor IP67 applications. Our DMX decoders are somewhat unique in that they've got an adjustable pulse width modulation frequency. They can be adjusted from 500 hertz all the way up to 30,000 hertz. What this means is if your lighting scene is being captured on media, whether it's tape or film, you can be assured that you will not have to worry about flicker or banding. This PWM rate will keep you out of all of those risk zones. We've got 2 different DMX decoders available with multiple outputs and different amperage capacities, as you can see shown here. We also offer a controller with 0 to 10 volt and dolly protocols. This controller has 4 output channels with a total of a 720 watt capacity. I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we offer a range of aluminum profiles. We've got flush mount profiles and surface mount profiles, both of which are available with a clear or a frosted lens. And then we've also got some somewhat unique profiles in the case on the top 2 on this slide. These have beam shaping lenses. The one on the left is actually able to achieve a 60-degree beam angle, and the one on the right can achieve a 30-degree beam angle. And if you recall, these were used in that arched ceiling in the ballroom in one of the earlier examples that I showed. We've also got some larger profiles with frosted covers, some of which can be suspended above a work surface or an area. And I want to mention that all of our profiles include 2 mounting clips as well as end caps. And if you would prefer not to use mounting clips, you can certainly drill right through the profile and directly screw mount it onto a solid substrate. So I talked about the range of product offerings, some of the quality perspective and the feature set that we offer. But there's another very important part of what RoscoLED is all about. And that's something I think that really sets us apart from much of the competition. And that's our project management team. We've got a team in Connecticut as well as one in London. And these people have extensive product knowledge. They've got a wealth of experience working with designers and customers and dealers. And they're really here to work with you from start to finish on a project to give you guidance and support as needed. They've got intimate knowledge, again, on the product, and they can work with you on calculating tape lengths, cut points, power and dimming loads, layouts. And another very important point I'd like to iterate is that we strongly recommend that any new project get registered with Rosco. This does a couple of things. It certainly gets RoscoLED onto the specification, and it really maximizes the opportunities for success for both Rosco and our business partners. We've got a full complement of technical documents on our website. We've got wiring diagrams. We've got user manuals for all of our products. And we've got spec language. As I mentioned before, very important in getting RoscoLED tape products into a new project spec and to keep competition out. I really believe Rosco has the best customer service, global sales team, project management, and tech support. Certainly, if there's something you can't find, all you need to do is ask. With that, I'd like to turn it back to Sean, and he's going to take care of the question and answer session.
Right, thank you, Jack. Yeah, so if you've got any other questions, please put them in. We've had a couple that come in already. Right, so Jack, let's have a look. First question here. Yeah, first one is regarding binning. It's asking, what's the binning level for RoscoLED tape, please?
All of the RoscoLED tape is binned within 3 macadam ellipse. It's very tightly controlled, and you can be assured that if you order large quantities of tape or order tape today and at a future point in time, they will have a very consistent visual look to the observer.
And is the IP65 strip 12 volt or 24 volt?
All of our tape, our standard 5 meter reels of tape are 24 volt operation, both for the IP43 indoor and the IP65 outdoor.
Right. Okay, and the next one is how far from the RoscoLED control box can I go with a lead tape?
So a couple of comments on that. We recommend only a single 5 meter reel of tape be connected to a power supply or dimming control. We do not recommend piggybacking 2 reels of tape directly together. With that said, we do offer a range of connecting cables, which will allow you to place some distance between power and dimming controls and the tape. We will allow up to 5 meters connecting cable in our standard gauge. If you need to go to a greater distance, we have some information that we can share as far as heavier gauge lead wires that should be used. But again, on the average, we recommend a 5 meter distance between power supply and the tape.
Okay, and actually linking into that is another query is, do you have connectors for the tape to tape and tape to power? Do we have those?
We do. So every reel of tape comes with a pre-soldered multi-pin connector. What I didn't mention is inside that package, there's also a mating female connector with a pigtail on it. So you have the options of either doing the plug and play with a RoscoLED control box, or you can use that pigtail to connect to any device that has, let's say, a screw terminal or a Phoenix connector.
Yeah. Okay. We've had a different question to the 24 volt. It's asking about mains voltage, so 220 volt strip. I don't know if you have any views on whether we're likely to go down that route, is what they're asking.
Today, we don't have any product offering that operates on mains voltage. It's certainly something we are taking a look at, but I don't have any definitive plans today to get into that. But I do appreciate the inquiry, and we'll certainly keep that in mind.
Right. Let's have a quick read of this one. Yep. I think this is from one of our dealers saying, is there a list of questions? Oh, sorry, screen moved. We can ask our customer to better provide Rosco with the right information. So basically, it's what question does Rosco have a crib list, or can they do a crib list for our dealers to make sure that in effect, when they give us the information for a project, they give us all the information first time?
My comment would be that because every project can be so different, I almost hesitate to have a standard list of questions other than to define what color or color temperatures they want to achieve, what are the run lengths they want to deal with, and what's the environment the tape is being put into. With that information, again, I would encourage the dialogue to be taken up with our project management team, because they can take that information then and start to develop a layout and a scheme that will meet the needs of the designer.
Okay, dokes. And also there's a query over the Ballroom presentation earlier. Mm-hmm. We're asked if we could give, if we could sort of give a case study at that. Will there be a case study coming out on that? So the full installation scheme.
We actually did a blog post on that. And if the details on the blog post are not sufficient, I think we could probably provide some additional details. Sure.
Okay, other questions? There's one here on IP, which is how do you seal the waterproof tape if field cut?
So we do recommend, if you want to customize or have custom lengths of the IP65 tape, we recommend you feed that information to Rosco, and then we can provide it cut to length. But in the case where you might need to do some field cutting, it can be resealed using silicone sealant material, and we can provide appropriate instructions on how that should be done.
Okay, and another one on CCT is it the same color for indoor and outdoor, given that it's covered?
Yes, yes. All the products have the same color space, whether it's an indoor or outdoor rated product, and there's very little impact from the silicone coating on the tape.
Yeah. Coming back to your earlier comment, someone has said, "What can you just clarify why they can't connect two reels one after the other?"
So with anyone's product, whether it's RoscoLED or a competitor's product, there's always going to be a voltage drop from the beginning of a run to the end of the run. What we find is you can actually connect two reels together, but if you measure the output intensity and the voltage at the beginning of the run, and then at the end of the second piece of tape, you'll find that the change in voltage and output is appreciable to the point where the eye can pick it up. That's why we recommend only going with a single run of the 5-meter reel of tape.
There's a question, is there a demo kit, going to be an LED tape demo kit, RoscoLED tape demo kit?
So we do have some demo kits available today. We're actually re-engineering some of the kits based on feedback from the market. So I would strongly encourage dealers to get in touch with customer service or their Rosco representative to find out what's available, and we'll try to get materials into your hands that best suit your needs.
And someone's asked, where can they find that blog that you referred to earlier? Will that be in Spectrum or?
It is in Spectrum. So if you go on the website and click on the Spectrum blog portion, it'll give you a drop down with all the past studies with the details on those.
As regards dimming, will the products work with 0 to 10 dimming, or does it require some special dimming, or is it changed by product type?
They will work with 0 to 10, 0 to 10 volt. In the case of the colored or multicolored tape, RGB-W, it's a little bit clunkier with 0 to 10 volt, but it can be done. I think many people find in the colored tape, DMX controls work quite well for that.
And also there's a query over the warranty period. Can you confirm what the warranty period is on the products and the controls?
All the RoscoLED tape and controls are warranted for a 3-year period from date of receipt.
Sorry, I had a bit of background noise here. Okie dokes. And does Rosco offer finished custom product, so pre-built custom product?
We will certainly entertain those inquiries. We do have the ability to provide some customization. Most of these have a bit of a lead time, meaning something like a 4-week period. But please contact our project management team. They'll work with you to find the solution that meets your needs.
Good stuff. We're getting down to the last bit here, really. Are there any other? I'd encourage anyone to send any others in. There's one query. I'm not sure I understand this. If a customer needs a specific size pre-soldered, can you provide this? Custom length, I presume it is.
Yes, we can. So it's very common for people to design a lighting scheme where they're going to require a number of less than 5-meter lengths of tape, and we can provide those with the pre-soldered connectors. And in some cases, if you want to connect multiples of those shorter than 5-meter lengths, as long as the total does not exceed 5 meters, we can actually include the mating connectors so you can piggyback those together.
Okay, good stuff. One on controls here again and types of power, referring to the fact that there's different types of, there's constant current, constant voltage for LED tape, and what can RoscoLED, can it use both, or what's preferred?
The primary or preferred control method is the constant voltage. So again, in the architectural world, I know 0 to 10 volt is very popular. So certainly it's very easy to control all the static whites using 0 to 10 volt. It can also be done with the colored tape, the Varicolor, or the tunable white. It just requires some additional control slides to do that.
Okay, great. And also, all right, it's saying some products for RGBW use one chip. Why do we use two?
Again, we think it provides a little bit more latitude when you're tuning the tape, whether it's a specific color or you're trying to saturate or desaturate the color. With a quad chip, in a lot of cases, because you're packing everything into such a tight space, there's an opportunity for a little bit of power bleed through. So even though you're not providing power to the LED chip, the phosphor coating on top might actually get excited a little bit, which impacts your color intensity. So we think by separating out the white, it really gives you much better control and latitude.
Okay. There's one here which I'm not sure I quite understand. It says, is the PM email for orders, it's moved, orders, RFQs, tech support, etc. Project management email. Yeah, go on, sorry.
There is a project management address where all inquiries can be sent in, and they will be picked up by our project management team. I think that's what the question is asking, but certainly if that's probably just the starting point, and at some point I would imagine there's going to be an actual dialogue directly between a designer or customer and one of our project management team members.
Okay, great. Okay, I think we're going to wrap up there. Just one last query. What are the key three things about RoscoLED tape you'd like people to take away with us today?
I think our message is really that we put a lot of emphasis on providing a broad portfolio, which gives designers options to create the space they really envision. We put an emphasis on product quality and a unique feature set that really separates RoscoLED product from most other competitor products. And the support that we offer with our project management and other technical individuals within the organization. Again, I think it's a winning combination that can maximize the chances for success with our business partners.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Right, well, I think we'll wrap up there. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending today. Hope you found it of use and interesting. We covered most of the questions that came in, but if you have any others, please pick them up with your Rosco rep, or alternatively, you'll be receiving an email following the event, which will have a link to the recording, etc., and the slides. So if you had any dropout, you'll be able to see and revisit afterwards. That'll also have an email address in it if you want to contact us directly. So thank you very much once again, and goodbye until next time. Cheerio.